Welcome back to both me and to you. My name is Ryan Selvy, and this is File New, your best stop for creator news, art news, design news, and everything you need to know to stay up to date with all the changing landscape of being a designer or an artist and the constantly changing landscape. Today, we've got a lot of really cool stuff for you. We have a feature on a designer who just died last week that you've probably seen a lot of his work before, but you don't know his name because he went largely unaccredited for all this stuff. We talk, of course, about the Cracker Barrel fiasco that happened kind of while I was out. We hop into Font of the Week, where you guys get to vote on your favorite fonts. We talk about some new Adobe updates for both programs and outside of Adobe programs. And we got a lot of stuff for you. So thanks for being here in chat or in the replay. We've got a lot to cover. So I'm going to hop right on into our very first segment, which we just have as the news. It's good to be back. Thank you, everyone, for saying hello and welcome back in the chat. Welcome back to Oliver and Peter. We have Clever, Jacob, Paris, of course, Bree, and Alyssa. Thank you guys all for the very kind words. I missed you, but I also did not miss you because I was on a wonderful honeymoon and a wonderful vacation. And while it's great to be back, I did really enjoy my time off. So thank you for letting other people step in. We had Way to Cuff step in at one point. We also had Jacob Paris do a hosting job earlier this month when we were doing some other stuff. So it's really great to be able to have these other hosts come in, and I hope you guys are enjoying the change of faces as well. Jacob said came back as a new man. Yes. But let's hop into the news, as I was just saying. First thing up is some news with Adobe from Aubrey Cartel, and it is Design Meets Collaboration, Adobe Express in Miro. You guys have probably used Miro before. Miro is a collaborative tool that a lot of teams use a lot of times on virtual meetings, where you can have all the hands move around the screen together. You guys can rearrange different elements and design pieces to then brainstorm or help storyboard or come up with different aspects for design. It's a really good planning tool, and it's really cool now that Adobe Express can now help you design, edit, collaborate without leaving Miro. It is a native functionality. You can read all about it on the updated Adobe blog, but I'm going to go and give you guys a little bit of a high-level view here. Of course, all of these links are available in the Raindrop link, which is linked in the description. I'll also go ahead and quickly take the Raindrop link, and I'm going to put it in both of the chats for you guys. That way you will be able to just click it if it's not showing up or anything on the wonderful Behance site. So here you go. Clicking that in there, and then you'll be able to click around as well. But the very first thing, it is chronological to the best of my ability, and the Design Meets Collaboration with Miro is talking about how now you can streamline your workflow with bringing in different templates, with bringing in social content, with being able to work with the whole team in real time, which you can also do in Express, but without having to hop different things. They have a quick image editor, which helps you crop, resize, adjust brightness, contrast, round corners, remove backgrounds or objects. You can also launch the entire Adobe Express experience directly within Miro, so you don't have to switch to another tab. It can just exist within the Miro user interface. And then you can also save edits or newly created assets back to your Miro board instantly, and it has support for Creative Cloud account and drag and drop files between Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, you name it, directly into your Miro board. So a lot of really cool updates. I use Miro mostly when I am on phone calls with different teams, and I have not had a chance to play with this myself because I have not had a Miro call in the last week. But this just launched on the 20th, which was a week ago today. So make sure you guys let me know if you end up using it or if you are able to suggest it to your teams and you're able to make things work faster just because you don't have to hop around. On other Adobe news, which I'm sure you heard about, this has been kind of all over the place because this was a really big kind of seismic shift that happened yesterday with the new Gemini 2.5 Flash image model. If I'm saying word salad to you, let me just give it down to you real quick. Don't let me lose you. There was this secret new AI system called Nano Banana that was being kind of teased around and launched. Well, it just hit the public sphere yesterday, and Adobe Firefly actually has support for it in its native UI. So you can use different modals all within Firefly. Firefly, of course, as Adobe's standalone AI image generation model, never trains on any of your work, and it is completely copyright free so that you are able to use it in commercial work and only trained on consensual work. And so that is always going to still be available and an option within the Firefly ecosystem. That said, Adobe and Firefly are working on bringing in other modals, so they have their avenues, legal systems, you name it, that are and separate from Firefly. But within the Firefly user interface, you're going to be able to use these different modals and get different results, because all of these different AI models have a little bit of a different look and they might be used for different uses. So this gives you the flexibility to be able to switch between models without having to worry about hopping around different user interfaces. The big deal with this Google Gemini 2.5 Flash image model is it's doing some really crazy stuff. And I went and grabbed this article from TechCrunch. It's Maxwell Zeff. Goes into a little bit more detail about what is new and exciting about this update. I'm going to go ahead and bring this onto the screen. This is a new model that you can take two images like this woman and this dog and say put them together on a basketball court, and it will then bring them together. It's also really strong with using text. It can also take understanding of like a room and just change different aspects about the image with different text updates. So you'll see here it says, change the walls peach, actually add books to the left hand, add a Persian rug, and it will continue to take the same image that you already generated and continue to update it over and over again. This is obviously all adapting. This is all becoming something that is constantly evolving. So it's interesting to see Adobe have support for it and be able to give creators all the tools that they want to use, whether or not they're even directly from Adobe, which is exciting to see, because then everything can still work together. In other non-software developer news, this is what I teased at the very beginning. Unfortunately, Joe Karoff died last week. He is the designer behind the 007 James Bond logo. If you did not know that, don't worry. I feel like most people didn't, because he actually wasn't even credited for it until recent years. He actually just, and to quote his obituary, said that he was, it was a total spontaneity. So how do you say spontaneous? There you go. There was a total spontaneous piece of creativity. I simply sat at my desk and wrote 007 on a piece of paper. He remembered the minute I wrote the 7, especially on the downstroke, I just somehow immediately saw that as a handle of a gun. Adding the barrel and the trigger was virtually nothing. And so then he got the 007 logo. The crazy thing here is that he was paid $300 back in 1962 to come up with this letterhead logo, and it was for a low-budget, mildly anticipated spy film called Dr. Number. And he ended up going with the 007. So not only did he come up with this iconic logo, get paid nearly nothing for it, he didn't have any rights on it or anything. It says, more than half a century later, the symbol remains synonymous with Britain's most thrilling cultural export, but Karoff, who sold the design without retaining any rights, never saw the dividends. He was not credited in the film, and until recently, little known, though the designer was unshaken by his near miss with fame and his company thrived, his wife was stirred by his uncredited success, saying, "We would have been rich." So yes, rest in peace to a legend, both by Alyssa and to Jacob. And Peter says he got taken, but that's not the only thing. You might think that, like, okay, so he did one thing and then he kind of faded off. He actually had so many other famous pieces of work. I'm sure you guys have all seen the West Side Story logo and poster before. He created this, and it is normally accidentally accredited to kind of Saul, but it is indeed from Karoff. He also created the logo type for Manhattan, which I know is a problematic movie in itself with Woody Allen, but the idea of using the letters as different skyscrapers is very iconic. And he went on to also do things like a poster for the Beatles. He did Cabaret. He did the intro scene for Oren, Oren, back in the 70s. He also helped with creating the Olympic coverage for ABC News. He did all these things, and he's not much of a household name. Hopefully that changes. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens. When you die, you get more famous afterwards. But his portfolio is super impactful in the entire design world, and it's a shame that we lost him. But he lived to 103. So, I would say that is a pretty good long run. And it was cool to learn more about him through his obituary. Next up, we have the Apple event, which also has an iconic logo. This is their all-dropping event. They normally have a event every September. It's normally their hardware event that covers a bunch of the different aspects, like the new iPhone. It is rumored to not only have a new iPhone, but it is also rumored to have a new Vision Pro, updates to iPad, you name it. The interesting thing is there's also been a bunch of articles recently that have come out that have said that they're going to try to reapproach the iPhone over the next 3 years. There's been rumors for years and years and years and years about a new foldable iPhone, but this doesn't seem like this is going to be the foldable iPhone. The foldable iPhone is rumored to be in 2027, but this idea of a new iPhone approach is as the company kind of continues to scramble and figure out what they want to do, since they have not delivered a lot of things that they promised they were going to deliver over the last 2 years. Back to some AI news. We have Midjourney. Midjourney and Meta have announced a licensing agreement to be able to license Midjourney's algorithm or model into their own system and future products, bringing beauty to billions, as they announced. The very interesting thing about this is just about 2 months ago, Mark Zuckerberg and a bunch of Meta was throwing literally salaries that were equivalent, if not more, to like football stars, to these different engineers that were being brought on and taken from other places. We're talking like tens of millions of dollars year salary for them to join the Meta division because they were focusing on a new AI whole system. They then did a whole reorg again like last month. And it's interesting to them bring in Midjourney, whereas they were trying to develop their own like a month ago with millions of dollars. They did layoffs. It's just everything moves so fast that it's so interesting to see that this comes out and that this is something that a partnership between the two. We'll see how long it lasts. That's just how I feel at this point. But long-awaited things in a much happier note. Finally, after decades of wanting this, it's finally here. Align to Bleed. This comes from Hardcore on our InDesign over on Reddit. Now you have the ability to align to bleed with the native InDesign functionality on the side of your screen. Before you could do selection, key object, margins, page spread. Align to Bleed is finally a thing. People are very excited about it. It was at the top of InDesign's subreddit for quite some time, but now you know it as well. Then hopping back over to some social media updates, we have an update from Lucas O'Keefe, who is a friend of the show, also has had his own show on Adobe Live a handful of times. And this is all about Instagram adding a new skip rate to Reels. If you're not familiar with what that means, that's totally normal. I didn't know it either until I saw his wonderful post, which you can find. His user account is the Lucas O'Keefe over on Instagram. But up until now, view rate has been kind of the hero of Instagram Reels when you're looking at your analytics. It says it's replacing your Reel view rate with a new skip rate. So here's the difference. The skip rate was, in this case, the 19%, and the typical skip rate is 27% here. The view rate showed how many people kept watching past the first 3 seconds, but now the skip rate shows how many people skipped your reel in those first 3 seconds. So it's a different way of looking at it. It's essentially the same idea, but it's a different way of quantifying the numbers. It says a high skip rate means you have a weak hook, whereas a low skip rate means your attention grabbed someone. Basically, those first 3 seconds matter more than ever. It's kind of always been the thing. Instagram also just added retention charts to Reels Insights, so you can see how long people are watching and when they skip. It shows where people keep watching or drop off throughout your video. And you'll always see a downward slope, but the flatter the line, the more engaged your audience is. And of course, you are now able to reshare things. So if you like this, make sure you hop on over to Lucas's Instagram and you reshare it and you follow him for more updates. He does a lot of really great social media and designer updates. He's done a lot of really great work with Express. And I learn a lot of stuff through watching his reels and checking out his posts. Like I said, it's the Lucas O'Keefe on Instagram. The analytic is going to hurt my feelings, says Alyssa. Analytics always hurt my feelings, if I'm being honest here. Also, we see finally coming from Amy Louise. Oliver says, so they've just switched it from a positive viewpoint to a negative one. Reverb Mike says, but I'm not a fish. Meta has to say otherwise. Keeping the conversation rolling on Instagram, Instagram's official account for creators recently posted a thing about linking reels. There's new functionality onto Instagram that lets you link to one of your own reels in succession. So let's say that you are coming up with a series or you're referencing a reel in a reel. Now at the bottom of the screen, you're able to pull it up and you're able to say, like, if you want to continue watching, you can now click on, and it's right here down in the bottom. So their official verbiage says you can now link reels that build on each other, whether they're part of larger series or follow-ups to prior reels. This makes it easier for you to organize related content while helping viewers follow along and discover more of your reels. You can easily link reels together when adding captions or by tapping the overflow menu in previously shared reels. You can give the linked reel a title to better guide your viewers along. This also can be added to not only new reels as you're posting now, but also if you go into old reels, you can edit it and you can then add links to reels. So if you already have a collection or a series and you want to comb them together, you can then be able to have them still manage and work together posting. Jack is joining the chat saying, did I miss the Cracker Barrel hot takes? Not yet. Do not worry. We have a few more stories to get through. Then we'll do Font of the Week, and then we'll hop right into Cracker Barrel. So you're probably about 10 minutes out from a Cracker Barrel conversation, but I'm excited to talk about it. What a freaking whirlwind. Updates to exciting AI content production from Netflix. This is coming as an official update to the Partner Help Center for people who are creating things for Netflix. And I think this is something that a lot of people wanted to see and are excited to see. This is the fact of the matter that Netflix is saying, okay, generative AI is going to be a part of content production, but we want to make sure that we are very safe about it. They're saying that you can use it to use it for mock-ups or brainstorming or temporary assets. There is no copying copyrighted material that is approved. There is no unapproved likenesses. There's no hidden data usage. You cannot alter performances or create replicas without consent under union compliance. It has you only being allowed to use approved tools. You can't let models train on Netflix scripts or footage. And it is just kind of taking that approach to being like, this is a new tool. This is something that is starting to pop up in different places. We are going to have guidelines on it, and these are our current guidelines, which I, to my knowledge, have not seen Hulu or Disney or Peacock or any of the other kind of streaming services approach this. So it is exciting and nice to be able to see it and see where they stand and be able to understand that there is some transparency and some clarity as to what is their stance and how the stuff that we're going to be consuming can be either touched or not touched by artificial intelligence. Our last news story of the day is from Fast Company. It's about Spotify. They just redesigned the way you'll listen to audiobooks. It has a new follow-along feature that they're rolling out to only some users, and it basically is a mix between adding songs that you can then click into if it references within the artworks or that artist's work in, the author's writings. So if they're talking about maybe a specific song or a genre or something that kind of goes along with the music, you can either add it to a playlist to listen to later, or you can listen to it right away. There's also ability to have visual stimulus that goes along with the different things that you're reading. So maybe it's a map, or maybe it's some sort of like concession of if users are kind of talking back and forth in text bubbles of a text message. There have been a lot in the past of PDFs that can go along with read-alongs for the spot for audiobooks, but a lot of users weren't apparently opening them. So Spotify is now playing with this new idea of creating content specifically for books. I know, as for me, I just recently started reading Project Hail Mary by Andy Weiss. He is the creator of The Martian. And literally 2 nights ago, when he was reading the when he was walking through how he was describing a spaceship, you could see that actually I could not understand it, and since I wasn't reading it, I had to go and I like actually started kind of sketching out what it looked like because I couldn't figure out what it was. And so something like this would be really helpful. And I think it's also kind of a cool thing to be maybe a designer that specifically creates specific artwork and visual stimulus for audiobooks, because audiobooks are only becoming more prevalent. I like to do kind of between the two. Right now I have that book on my Kindle. I also have it on Spotify, and so I'm kind of switching between chapters as I listen and read. And I am just really fascinated by kind of a new medium of the idea of being able to be like, it's an audiobook, but it's also a visual kind of read along thing, but it's also reading. Would be interesting to see. ESPN definitely uses AI, says Reverb Mike, which is previous to the other story. I would be interested to see if they came out with anything. As far as this story goes, Oliver says, I've got a physical book by Shelby Mary that has an accompanying album and marks in the book to show when to play the songs. That's really cool. Reverb Mike, however, says, I like to sing along in the movie theater, which you're just confused because this is about a book, unless you're reading books in the movie theater, which would be hard to because it'd be super, super dark. But also, there was a big update to K-pop Demon Hunters being the biggest hit on Netflix ever, and then they ended up being the #1 movie of the weekend in theaters last weekend. So if you want to go sing along somewhere, K-pop Demon Hunters. Let's hop into Font of the Week. Font of the Week is the weekly session that we have on File New, where we look into fonts that are available on Adobe Fonts. And we vote on which one we think should be the font of the week. In this case, we are doing 3 different ones that I'm trying my best to have a variety for you guys. The second one is totally crazy, but I feel like you guys tend to really like crazy. So I'm trying to have some sort of variety, whether or not you are looking for something that is way more kind of universal and easy to use, or something to spice up your project. I am going to go ahead and put the poll in the YouTube chat, and then we're going to break down a little bit about each typeface. First one is Amphifer from Typeland. It is a sans serif font, as you can see, but it has some character to it. It has lots of different weights. It is clean and nice, neat curves with a low X height. It has a quickly, slightly informal voice while maintaining structure clarity. It is available in 10 styles, including weights from regular through black. And it's great for sharp headlines, futuristic branding, refined editorial layouts, creating a strong yet personable visual identity. And it is designed by Elisa Massarella and released by Typeland, a London-based studio specializing in multi-script and custom type design. So we always have it kind of off to the side. I like to have it just as test 1, and then in real time, I like to look at it with File New. Very easy to read, very heavy. Is not only of its weight, but also in its like presence. You can see that the E is very big, it's very wide. The F and the N, W, all are very wide letters. You can go all the way up to black italic. That's going to give you that super heavy feeling. It doesn't have alternates for a lot of things, but it looks like under the I there is a little bit of flexibility with the top of the dot. But as always, we like to go into window glyphs to check out what the font offers outside of just our letter forms. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see currencies, you'll see like copyright, you'll see some arrows, which we always love to see arrows. I like to tend to put them between the 2, File and New. And they go along with the feeling of the typeface. And they also go along with all the different weights. So you can do like bold, italic, and it also brings it down. Looks like it has a lot of support for other languages, other currencies, and pretty much everything on your keyboard, which is always really good to see. Some math in case you want to do your homework, all within Amphifer. Let me know if you do. Getting ahead of ourselves. Andrea says the Jellica font is so cute. We're gonna get there, don't worry. But next up, we're gonna do Mon Nicolette from Sud Typos. It is a decorative serif, script-like, upright italic, which I would never be able to tell you. It is uniquely an upright italic that functions like a script or display serif. It is pronounced contrast, condensed letter forms, and exaggerated ascenders. It flows elegantly, blending script aesthetic with serif clarity. And it is revival by Cristobal Henestrosa in collaboration with Oscar Yanez, based on William Addison Dwiggen's experimental charter designs from 1937 to 1955, best for expressive headlines, subheads, or short passage text, which I disagree with that last part. Ideal in fashion magazines, poetry, advertising, or book covers where elegance and narrative styles are desired. It has Latin script. It was released 5 years ago, and it is technically sophisticated and culturally expressive type designs. Yeah, guys, this one's crazy. This one's absolutely bonkers. This is the glyph. They have pretty much 2 of every single letter, it looks like, in the event that you need to add accents or something. This would not be legible in a small form at all. It looks like everything is all caps, so you get what you got, unless I have, nope, I don't have caps lock on. But I think that if you were to use this on a poster design, on a book cover, if you're using it on a magazine cover, or you're using it as just a call out for something, maybe you're also following it up with legible text beneath, it is a cool one to see. And yes, hey, Anthony, welcome to the chat. We're just going over our font of the week. Can we vote now? If you want, you can vote now. Everything is available for vote whenever you want to over on YouTube. But it's up to you whether or not you might regret it. And sometimes people regret it, like Tracy. Finally, we have Jellica, which is Dave Rowland type. It is a soft serif display font with the flexibility to use in running text with proper tracking, which I definitely agree with. It says it's friendly and inviting with concave and rounded serifs that evoke Cooper or Goody heavy face, but without leaning into cutesiness. It combines a retro vibe with functional readability. It is a robust family with 14 styles, 7 upright Romans and 7 italics, offering good versatility, supports an extensive set of Latin-based languages, and it is perfect for expressive titling and display work with refinement. It also serves as body text in a smaller size, which, yes, I think this one can actually fit with body type if you then are, finagling with it. And we'll see, we'll make this real tiny. Yeah, I think you could read that. You might always want to increase tracking. You want to increase tracking, which is the kerning in between all the letters rather than just individual letters. But as you get tinier, it's always nice to kind of spread those out. That way it's easier to read. And this one, yeah, I think that this can be formal, but it can also be cutesy. They like to describe it themselves as not being too cutesy, but I think that there is a cutesy element to this. I don't think I could read this boring pages with this and not feel like it has some character to it. Always love a good arrow, so we're going to put the arrow here. And that gives us the 3 for file new font of the week for August 27th. I see people are already voting in the chat. I'm going to keep it open for a bit more because I like to get up those votes way up. But right now it looks like Jellica is being the winner. So if you disagree with that, make sure you hop on over to YouTube and you can vote and you can switch it up. Amy is saying that there is a nice arrow for Amafer, which I agree with. Although I have my favorite, but I like to keep it to myself because I don't want to sway the vote. Although I do want to sway the vote. But then again, I can do whatever I want. It's my show. Get at me. Let's get into Rebrand. Oh boy, you guys. Oh, Cracker Barrel. Oh, Cracker Barrel. So if you're not familiar with Cracker Barrel, which I'm surprised because I guess that maybe it's just an American thing, but I feel like this was everywhere. I put it into the Discord while I was out on the honeymoon, where I was just like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I can't believe that they changed it. That's kind of iconic. I was not anticipating the total blow up that was the I can never even say it. The Cracker Barrel rebrand. So it used to have this old man next to a barrel, next to this typeface, which had the K go into this kind of circle around, which I guess is it a bean? Is it Is the whole thing supposed to be like a bean that you can kind of open for an old country store? These are all across the highways, all across America. Hello to Callum. Thank you for coming back. Good to see you again. Oliver has never heard of Cracker Barrel before. Wow. Corey called the rebrand a biscuit coffin, and then I couldn't unsee it. So let's see. So they made this, and yeah, people lost their minds. People lost their minds. So much so that the stock dropped, I think 17%. People were going all over their Instagram, they got a boycott. Then, then political stuff got into it, and that was its own avenue. And they kind of started to be like, yeah, we hear you, but, we're sorry that, we're going to continue to listen. And then they kept the logo. And then just yesterday, they posted an update, and they said, we thank our guests for sharing your voices and love for Cracker Barrel. We said we would listen, and we have. Our new logo is going away, and our old timer will return. At Cracker Barrel, it's always been and always will be about serving up delicious food, warm welcomes, and the kind country hospitality that feels like family. As a proud American institution, our 70,000 hardworking employees look forward to welcoming you to our tables soon. Wow. The amount of money that they put in for this rebrand and the fact that they held by it and then they were like, oh, okay, never mind, is pretty crazy. I am happy to hear that they've gone back. I don't think that the logo is without, room for improvement. I think it's a classic. I think that they could have updated it in ways that were a little bit more realistic to kind of the feeling of it. Like, I don't know why they didn't just clean this up. Like, this obviously is kind of an old vectorized silhouette of a man. I think that there is now a much better understanding of how to make a clear non-blob of a clear image that's been turned into like a vector or a logo. Like, they could have cleaned up and got rid of a lot of these kind of extra elements in his arm or across his chest. Maybe they even zoom in, and then that way you kind of just get maybe from the torso up with the barrel and the head. I also don't love the K that goes around. Like, I do love kind of the letter form that they have then started to mess with here with bringing the C and the B together. I do think that everything else being stripped was a horrible idea, but the letter forms themselves aren't bad. I just think that it was kind of losing sight of what was the brand itself. I have not seen backlash like this since, what was it, Gap? When Gap did their rebrand, whatever year that was, and then they ended up rolling that back really quick. Jacob says stock drop. Yeah, dude, it was huge. It was huge. It was on the front page of like so many publications that don't even talk about logo. Oliver says, why clean up an old logo when you can spend a ton of money making a new one that no one likes? You should be a CEO. Clever says there needed to be more emphasis on the barrel and less on the guy. Yeah, which I feel like even that you could have a focus on the barrel and have that as part of the country store. I think just having at least one of those elements, whether they then lean more into the guy like KFC, or like Wendy's does with Wendy, or just maybe kind of focusing more on the barrel itself. Dorian says, I hope I'm not joining late on the chat, just watching the stream in YouTube on my TV. Hello, on the big screen. Hi. Thanks for being here. Clever says, who doesn't love money? Reverb Mike says, excellent biscuits at the Cracker Barrel. Yes, the only thing that my biggest complaint about Cracker Barrel, honestly, as Ryan Selvy, is it's always so cold. It's always so cold. And they could fix that too with just switching their AC. Anthony Jackson says there's always room for improvement, but this was too simple. Yes, this was a lot to do with kind of like the idea of how, Pizza Hut doesn't look like Pizza Hut buildings anymore, and McDonald's now look like squares, and the whole idea of simplification and being able to just really bring down everything to just all be like simple forms. I think there should still be something with maximalism and being able to have a more complicated logo, but man, this was not it. Callum says that he hates that they caved, though. The new logo wasn't the right update, but still, it feels pointless to try and please the masses. Alyssa says, okay, the new logo is a little boring, but it somehow feels less racist to me. Oh, did not know. I have to read more about that. I definitely have to read more about that. So that is on me. But I do find the barrel definitely needs something. They definitely need the barrel. But neither here nor there. And on that note, the logo type for the rebrand is great, but I get the feeling no one could agree on the lockup, so they gave up and made an orange coffin with too much negative space. Yes, very rounded, like it's almost like a squircle, but it's like a little coffin thing. It's weird. There's a lot of space, a lot of extra space, a lot of extra space. But yeah, that's all I have for rebrand for this week, because it was just, it outshadowed everything else. It was so big that no other news stories. When you went on to under consideration at the top, there was this big red banner. They were like, we have heard the Cracker Barrel notes. We have reached out to the agency. Please stop sending it to us. We will cover it. Stay tuned. Which is funny. But we have a lot of resources for you guys, so let's hop into resources. This is a YouTube masterclass. This comes from Colin and Samir. They have interviewed hundreds of YouTubers that have millions of followers and asked them all about different advice, talking about what makes a good YouTube thumbnail. How do you strategize and come up with your content for your videos? How do you focus on what to focus on? And they've done that for over the last 10 years. They recently published a 37-minute video that is a cut down of some of the best advice that they have on their website, and it's just called the YouTube Playbook in 37 minutes. It has all the big names that you've heard of, a lot of the huge names that you've never heard of that apparently our kids are watching. It is a very interesting and resourceful video. I've watched about half of it so far. I already have learned some things that I probably should update with my own stuff of how I approach YouTube. But if you are doing the dishes, or if you are sewing or working on a puzzle or something, and you put YouTube on in the background, I think this would be a really good one to watch. Next up, some Lightroom resource. This is from the Lightroom subreddit. It's from Long Jumping Bed 9528. It says, Lightroom hacks I use every day that aren't talked about enough. Not presets, not AA stuff. Here's what saves me actual time. You can tap Y in Develop to compare before and after when you're looking at before and afters of images. You can hold Shift when syncing WB, so it adapts per photo, not exact match. You can disable GPU when exporting, which can be faster on some machines, but not my machine because I got a strong GPU. You can use the targeting adjustment tool to tweak specific colors right in the image. You can copy settings, then use paste from previous while culling to test looks fast. We looked at that actually on last week's stream, or 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I don't know. Whenever I was on, we were in Lightroom. Then solo mode in panels, you can right click and enable so everything stays tidy, and you can set up smart collections to track missing metadata or export settings. In this thread, they also then turned it to the comments and said, what is things that you guys use that speed up your Lightroom situation? And the top comment there was from Good Eye Photo. It said, no matter what tool you're currently using, crop, WB, target adjustment, whatever, you can advance to the next or previous image using command left or right arrow. It's really handy when you're focused on implementing a single tool from image to image. And everyone was really excited about the Y key. So there are a bunch of other awesome comments in that thread. If you want to check it out, it's linked in the raindrop, or if you just go to reddit.com/r/Lightroom. The next one that I wanted to kind of give a shout out to is Motion Mondays. This comes from the School of Motion guys. They do an update every Monday that's kind of like File New, but it's basically just motion news and motion updates. I watch it every Monday. It's really great. They do all different updates from across the industry. They do Blender. They'll do all different Adobe updates, obviously, Houdini, you name it. And it's really good way to learn about a lot of things that are happening in the industry. This week, they talked about this cool Stash Partner Events website that goes in and is a good resource for being able to know real life events that are happening that can be good for motion designers. I went ahead and I also linked that. It's just under stash.tv, I think. Stashmedia.tv, and then you go to their collection. It goes through about London events. It has a Los Angeles event. It has Melbourne, Montreal, Chicago, you name it. And it's also just a really good place to see ways that you can get involved in person. And yeah, then we're going to go to another resource. This one is way more downloadable. This is Logo Ipsum. I think this is hilarious. This is a resource for designers when you're creating something and you need to have logos that don't necessarily say anything. They're just logos that kind of fill up space. This is created to temporarily fill the logo space with Logo Ipsum until you have the real logo, because the top left corner doesn't look good to be empty. There's surely a moment when we need to explore layout or UI, but we don't have a name for it yet, let alone a logo for it. You stare at the blank logo with the dead eyes and you start to fill it with plain square, but that doesn't look good. You start to make that square with a big X and it just looks ugly. So everything is a vector you can download and you can incorporate it into, you can put it into Illustrator, and then you can then just have it kind of exist. They have over 160, so they have right now 167 free placeholder logos, and they all have different feels. You know, you could have something like this, or you could have something like this. You could have something like that, like, you know, a fun little bunny one that feels like it should be in an arcade, or this logo, or you name it. Seems like a very good resource. SVG, you can download it. You can preview the logo on a nav bar to see how it looks like at the top of the screen. You can, I don't know what editor is. Ooh, I didn't even know this was a thing. Ooh, and you can switch. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool, guys. That's really resourceful. And then you can copy. And the coolest thing of all, it's free. No signups, no logins. You can just go to logoipsum.com and they got you. That's great. Really cool resource. Then one other cool free resource is ShotStager. I found this one this morning, actually, while I was on Instagram. The creator of it created a nice updated like Instagram reel that walked through it. And as he walked through it, I was like, this is so cool. This is mostly for, I would say, film, maybe film design of things, but also could be potentially for motion designers, could also be for photographers. But I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull up the reel. We'll watch the reel, and then you guys can tell me who you think it would be best for. This is coming from Yaniv Nemet, who created it and put it online for free, which is really nice. So let's see.
I wanted to show you this app I developed to help me with storyboarding, and this is also useful for filmmakers. So I have a bunch of characters I just added, 1, 2, and 3, and I have my camera. And what I can do is I can add a frame and just play chess with my characters. So now if you're working on something with like action, or your characters are going all over the place, you can keep track of where they go. You can really do this infinitely. Now this character goes there, you can even get a little twist happening. And then to be even more precise, you can add a little floor plan drawing. So let's say they are in like a road or something, or street. So now it will persist throughout all of the steps. And then if you feel like it, you can just drop a little 180-degree rule to show where you can place your camera, or even connect the two characters so that when they move, the ruler moves as well. And then there's some annotations you can do just for one frame drawing, or some texts. So you can drop a text as if there's dialogue. And then finally, you can export it as a PDF to send to your supervisor or your team or whatever it might be.
You cannot hear it.
This is what it would look like. Or you can send a file, so people can just take this and change it however they like. This is free to use. So if you can Google ShotStager with no space, or you can just look up shotstager.com. Yeah, I hope this is helpful. Thanks. Hey everybody, I wanted to show you this app I developed to help me with storyboarding, and this is also useful for filmmakers. So I have a bunch of characters I just added, 1, 2, and 3, and I have my camera. And what I can do is I can add a frame and just play chess with my characters. So now if you're working on something with like action, or your characters are going all over the place, you can keep track of where they go. You can really do this infinitely. Now this character goes there, you can even get a little twist happening. And then to be even more precise, you can add a little floor plan drawing. So let's say they are in like a road or something, or street. So now it will persist throughout all of the steps. And then if you feel like it, you can just drop a little 180-degree rule to show where you can place your camera, or even connect the two characters so that when they move, the ruler moves as well. And then there's some annotations you can do just for one frame drawing, or some texts. So you can drop a text as if there's dialogue. And then finally, you can export it as a PDF to send to your supervisor or your team or whatever it might be. This is what it would look like. Or you can send a project file, so people can just take this and change it however they like. This is free to use. So if you can Google ShotStager with no space, or you can just look up shotstager.com. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that audio thing, guys. Sorry about that. But hopefully you heard it the second time through. But super useful, super cool, super resourceful for being able to do something entirely for free for someone who just kind of created something. I see in the comments people are saying it'd be really cool to also be able to see from the camera's perspective, which I think would also be really helpful. But I think this would be really helpful for planning a shoot, whether you're cameraman, camerawoman, in both the film aspect or photography aspect. And then even if you just want to storyboard something and figure out how you want something to move around and be able to move from there, it'd be really nice to see. But Dorina says this looks really interesting. Oliver says cool. There was some closed captioning on YouTube, so I'm glad you guys still got it. But always have to have one blip, right? How are we doing for voting? If you guys are just joining, make sure you're voting for the font of the week. These are the three that we have right now, which is Annifer from Typeland. We have the Mon Nicolette from Subtypos, and then we have Jellica from Dave Roland Type. And I'll be closing that in just a few minutes. But until then, we have just two more things to get through. We have a spotlight to spotlight some new color system. I'm sure you guys are familiar with RGB, which is red, green, blue, or CMYK, which is cyan, yellow, magenta, and key black, which are two different ways that we talk about colors. There's also HSL, which is kind of visible when you pop up here. HSB, there's lab colors, you name it, of different ways that you kind of approach different colors and how we understand color and switch between the two. There is a new one on the scene called OKLCH, and before your eyes glaze over, it is very interesting because what it's using is it's focusing on not just the colors themselves, but instead focusing on the idea of saturation and chroma. So the structure is lightness, chroma, and hue. Lightness equals steps that feel like equal changes in brightness from 0 to 100. Chroma is the intensity of color, kind of like saturation, and hue controls the hue measured in degrees from 0 to 360. So here they have an example. Let me zoom in of OKLCH versus HSL, which HSL, you have these different modifiers here of hue, and you can see that they all changed colors as well between orange, green, blue, and pink, but they don't really feel cohesive. Whereas when you're messing and you're keeping all of these the same, and then you change it, this top OKLCH feels a lot more cohesive, feels like colors work together, and it feels more natural and living together. And it would be easier to work with things like gradients. Look at the switch between kind of the pink to the green here. Has a lot more colors in the middle. It's showing you how it doesn't go just from point A to point B. It actually follows the spectrum to get there. And this could be incorporated not only into web design, but it would be interesting to see it also maybe interested in your designs, because you can always just take the sliders from this method and then apply it to different colors like RGB or HSL if you want to just eyedrop it or something. Especially, yeah, you can put it in a different color space. So no update. I'm not saying anything that Adobe is doing this or anything. I just saw it online, thought it was really nice. And I'm saying in the chat that apparently I'm saying you name it a lot, which I need to always know what I'm saying and what I'm not saying. It says gamuts are fun and can get confusing, and I agree. And Tracy says, this is super cool. Allison says, Ryan finally didn't miss this. Yes, we miss our Allison Rogers over on File New, but she's off busy making a career and a name of herself. So last thing, I'm glad you're here for Hyperlinks, because this used to be like your go-to segment. So let's hop into Hyperlinks. This last one is so stupid. It's so stupid. I almost like didn't think about including it, but I thought it was a really funny idea. It's Digital Solitude. It's a website for only one person. I've never seen it not kind of taken by too many people. And the idea is that it doesn't work if there are more than one person on the website. So if you just go to digitalsolitude.aguilamezlizowix, who is the creator of this, you can see that it says that there are currently 3 visitors. I need to try again later. And apparently the content is only here and connects if there's only one person. Now there's 4. Oh, because somebody else went there. Oh, now it's 3. I'll let you guys know if I ever find it here. But, you know, I don't know if I ever will. Now we're down to 2. Oh, kick the other person off. We need one more person to leave. One more person to leave. And we can see what's on here. And it's kind of cheating because all of you guys can see it. And we have dozens of us here. All right. We only got about like 3 minutes left. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to hop back over to Font of the Week. These were our 3 fonts. Since Allison, I know you're just joining us, I will give you just another minute to see what is... Did I say you name it again? No, stop. But you guys have voted, and I'm going to give it just a few more seconds. By the way, after this, while we're waiting for this, I can tell you what's coming up next. The YouTube day is done for Adobe Live, but that's just because we're going to actually hop over to Twitch. So Twitch happens between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Pacific on the West Coast, Monday through Wednesday. And for the East Coast, that is 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. On the East Coast. We have today Creative Retouching with Bella Kotek, who does these really cool photo composites of fantasy settings and is really good at being able to work with rich colors and polishing final details. And then followed by that, we have CA and LA, who were actually even in the chat earlier. Courtney and Ashley are LA filmmakers, and they guide you through a journey of being a creator, whether you have no skill or not. And it's called No Experience Necessary, and that is back to back, so it's all one event, and each show is an hour and a half there, so it just slides right into the next. So make sure you guys hop into Twitch right after you hop here. Tomorrow there's an in-studio day and some education content, followed by graphic design, meet the team on Saturday. One last thing I will say is please join the Adobe Live server. This is where I am throwing a lot of my news updates when we're offline in the file news section. And also I'd love to hear from you guys too. Like there was kind of some comment on the graphic design update with Cracker Barrel, which was fun to see. I also have it set up to post different updates. Like I know, like also this happened last week. We didn't talk about it, but MSNBC is rebranding in MS Now, which is really interesting to go from the colors and having the idea of NBC being gone, now kind of going into this white and red flag. And this is a place where we can talk about stuff if necessarily we don't get to it, or if we want to continue conversations. Also, there are channels for every other show, and there's also a general area. And I check it multiple times a day, so make sure you guys hop on over there. The link is in the description, and would love to see you guys in there, and that way we can talk more. All right, but with that, we've got like a minute left, so I'm just going to end the poll here. Looks like our winner is no surprise, because it held the winning vote the entire time. Angelica, for 52% of the vote. That's like 13 votes or something like that, because we had like 23 votes. Is Jellica. This is a Dave Rowland type. This is a friendly soft serif and 7 weights with matching italics. This is the winner. Need to give. Who wants to help me create a type crown? Or I need to also make like a type animation or something. Next week is the 100th episode. Not my 100th episode, but File News 100th episode. So I feel like I need to feel like I need to do something special. I guess it is a 3-day weekend. Maybe this weekend I work on stuff. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Thank you for everything, as always. You can find me online as Ryan Selvy. I am Ryan Selvy on Instagram, and I'm ryanselvy.com on Blue Sky. I need to update more on Blue Sky, but mostly you'll find me in Discord. That's where I mostly hang out. Make sure you guys hop on over to twitch.tv/Adobe. Not even Adobe Community or anything. It's just, I don't have my glasses on, which is always like a horrible idea whenever I am doing what I'm doing right now. But make sure you check that out. I'll see you guys over there. And thanks for being here as always. Thanks for watching the replay. If you're watching the replay. Oh, wait, one last thing. And I might get cut off. I'll probably get cut off from Behance. But check out the Discord if I get cut off. I'm thinking about doing a newsletter that I can just take the summary of what I go over in the show and put it into words. And I'm interested who would be interested in being signed up for that. I also totally just got kicked off Behance. So sorry about that, Behance. Watch on YouTube. But let me know if that's something you would like in your inbox, because then you would also not have to watch the full show, or maybe you could like just get an idea of the show before you then hop over. What do you know? Who knows? Okay, guys. I'll see you all later. Thanks again for being here. See you on Twitch. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.